Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome you once again this evening, our viewers, our listeners at Salam Media. It is Wednesday nights with myself, Inayet Wadee, where we look at a number of issues, global and local, and normally we host a panel discussion, but there are two topics that we are discussing tonight. One is looking at the political dynamics that are playing out in Pakistan. And in the aftermath of the leadership change, and that was the demise of the ruler in the UAE, we've seen new leadership emerge. And the key issue here is to look at leadership across the Arab world and how they have evolved over a period of time. And what does this actually mean for the Middle East? What does it mean for the Muslim world at large with the evolving of a leadership? And we will be joined later on by Professor Nidal Sakar and also Imran Khan out of the United Kingdom. But right now, we are going across to the UK, and we are going to be joined by Shahbaz Khan, who was the former president of the London-based PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. And we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Brother Shahbaz. Jazakallah khairan so much for your time joining us this evening.
Thank you. Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, obviously we've seen the political dynamics that have played out in Pakistan since the month of Ramadan with the removal of Imran Khan from power. But it is clear that this impact has been felt right across the entire world. And we know that there are many people of Pakistan origin in the United Kingdom and also in many other countries. We've seen the reaction in South Africa, and most recently, we've seen, apart from all the jalsas that Imran Khan attracting thousands and millions of people right across Pakistan, but also appealing to Pakistan in the diaspora, in the other countries, foreign-based Pakistani community for support.
No, absolutely. And I think it's been very unfortunate that Pakistan political disability or the instability caused by somebody from outside has occurred very, very apparently, and it's been out in the open. And I think previously it's been done in a very discreet manner. But I think on this occasion, it's such a shame that it's been done in an open way, that there's been interference from abroad or by a foreign power to destabilize Pakistan. And you've seen the result of it. A very popular government has been brought down by stitching up 30 plus parties in one pot and trying to put a government together which is not really representing a majority. So I think currently you can see that Imran Khan is out of the office, but you can see the amount of public which has gathered around him, which clearly demonstrates that the majority is with Imran Khan. And I think that whenever the next elections happen, which we are expecting to be very imminent, Imran Khan is going to come back to power, inshallah, with a bigger majority into the parliament, where he might not need those coalition partners who were supporting him in the previous government. Particularly to what you've mentioned about the support he actually requested from the diaspora living in different countries. I think we have been a driving force for his political party from the past 26 years since he's come into being. And most importantly, over the past decade or so, the diaspora has been supporting the party in different shapes and forms, and they've gone out to Pakistan, contributed by participating in the local activities. But the most important aspect of these two bits are to highlight Pakistan's issue at international level. You may have noticed that in previous years, we had a lot of, in 2013-14, we had a lot of drone attacks which occurred in the northwest of Pakistan, and thousands of people, innocent civilians, died. And we demonstrated by walking from 10 Downing Street in London to US Embassy and raise a concern in support of Imran Khan when he was actually doing exactly the same on the day by demonstrating, by going to the northwest of Pakistan, and he showed the world that what sort of devastation that is causing. So we have outside Pakistan raised similar issues at international level, supported the party, his movement through financial support, and also by organizing ourselves abroad in such that we can contribute to policy making, for instance, and try to consolidate our knowledge or understanding or experiences we have as those Pakistanis living abroad, and feed that back to the people, those who are in power or in positions, those who can actually make changes in Pakistan by learning through different experiences. So I think there's a host of things which Pakistanis, those who have been supporting Imran Khan over the years, living abroad, have done. Most recently, in the current situation, there are two things he's asked the Pakistani community to do. Those to include supporting him financially by contributing and giving political donations to his movement, because the jalsas and rallies and the activities you've noticed on telly or on social media, that obviously has a cost to organize. So he's asked us to kind of fund his movement that way. Obviously, people do come to those rallies and those jalsas voluntarily, but to have security and organized places does cost. And secondly, he's asked the overseas Pakistanis in every single country, particularly in Europe and America, North America in particular, to lobby their local political representatives to ensure that they are actually looped into the situation which has arisen after he was actually ousted from his office. So I think this is very, very important task at this moment in time, to ensure that he's unable to continue with that momentum, and also that issue of foreign intervention in the country's political affairs is brought to attention of all those representatives, those who are maybe not aware of it, or they do not actually see the sensitivity of the whole situation. Because on one side, the European countries are pro democracy. They would want to see democracy thriving in our countries, but I think on this occasion that hasn't happened, and unfortunately the European countries and other countries have not paid huge amount of attention to the situation. So I think for that reason, we need to kind of bring that to high up on the agenda, so people are more aware of it. And you will, inshallah, see the success of those efforts being made. And like I said earlier on, we're expecting Imran Khan to come back with a lot bigger majority after next elections are held, which we are expecting imminently. You may have noticed there were a Supreme Court ruling yesterday about dissident MPs, those who actually went and voted with the opposition parties to bring our government down. The Supreme Court has actually ruled that is not legal, that cannot be done, and there is case being registered against those people, those who have actually deserted the party lines and voted against party lines. So I think there's a lot happening at the moment. So I think that gives us hope that very soon we can expect elections to be announced. And similarly, I think, unlike very many other countries, we see a very peaceful transition of power taking place in the next few weeks or months' time to come.
Yes, I see. Obviously, you've just frozen slightly, but I know you are a bit rushed, and we've heard about your son who has been rushed to hospital, and we're hoping that all of it goes well. But also looking at Imran Khan himself as well. We knew earlier on in his prime ministership and his leadership that he was going to be under pressure, particularly after that famous speech he gave at the United Nations. He made the right noises, and that didn't go well as well. And you speak about the European nations and the Western countries talking about democracy. But we've actually seen the hypocrisy of democracy manifesting itself, and clearly it's been blatant in terms of its removal of power, where we're looking at a democratic country like Pakistan, and at the same time removing Imran Khan from power. And we've heard about the secret documents, and all of that has come out and play. So again, we see this hypocritical approach of the West and the European nations not wanting someone of Imran Khan standing in power. And we've seen a similar situation manifest itself in Egypt as well, when Mohammed Morsi was actually removed from power.
Yeah, I think that's very, very unfortunate. And you rightly pointed out that these actually reflect the double standards. On one hand, we would want to see democracy to thrive and democracy and free speech to thrive. On the other hand side, when we look at the actions we take or the support we extend to people, those who are completely against those principles, it actually makes you very, very uncomfortable with the situation. And I think the global world needs to kind of take that into account and consider that there is there's a huge gap between what they practice and what they preach. So I think what needs to be looked into, and we need to kind of make sure that we actually start practicing what we preach. In Pakistan, people want change. People would want to continue with the system they have been living under over the past 72 years, which has been crippled by people, those who have actually been sucking the blood out of the system effectively to kind of drain the resources out of the country and take those resources abroad, stash that wealth away from the country. Whereas the Pakistani nation itself is a very hardworking nation. We have delivered in different sectors across the world, whether it be business, whether it be health sector, you name it. We have people, those who are working on top positions across the globe. So that speaks for itself, that we as a nation is not that those who are not hardworking, or those who don't have your capacity or competency to actually deliver. It's about that rotten system which is actually holding back. And Imran Khan was giving these people some hope that you can actually break those shackles, break that system, and thrive in your own country, rather than leaving the country and going abroad and doing something really good for yourself or for other countries. And he was giving them hope that that same can be done in your own country. And that is unfortunately not liked by very many. People would want to see democracy, but they would want to see democracy in their own style. They would want to see people living or dreaming in the way they would want people to actually dream and think and live, which is very unfortunate, because that takes away their human rights, basics of their human rights, because everybody's free to live the way they want to live. So I think if people decide to follow a given script, that is not really democracy, that's dictatorship, and indirect dictatorship. So if people of Pakistan have decided to follow somebody who's has got a different or independent thinking, and he's making decisions in interest of Pakistani nations, that is not something being acknowledged and something not liked very much. So what is expected is to toe the line of what others are actually dictating Pakistan to do, which, unlike the previous representatives of Pakistan, Imran Khan is not prepared to do. And he would want to make decisions in the best interest of his country and people of Pakistan. So I think that is something very, very key to understand. he's taken a stand that there will be no war fought for other countries. We are going to fight for ourselves. We are going to defend ourselves. We're not going to fight anybody else's war. We are going to be friends with everybody, but we do not want to be dictated on things which are internal matters of Pakistan. So those are the kind of, that's the tone, or that's the kind of approach he's taken, which is not being liked very much by people abroad. Him going to Russia, talking to Russia about business, that's not being liked very much by people outside Asia, particularly in Europe and America. So I think that's very unfortunate. And we understand that there's a conflict going on in Ukraine, which is very unfortunate. A lot of innocent civilians are being killed, and which we acknowledge that shouldn't be happening. But what we expect is to the West to take similar stand when similar things are happening in Palestine, for instance. Similar things are happening in Kashmir. So if we are expected to condemn, which we do, then we would expect the same sort of standards and principle applied when those atrocities are committed in those two places I've just mentioned, namely Palestine and Kashmir. So if we are expected to stand shoulder by shoulder with the Ukrainians and other conflict areas, we are expecting the world to stand by us when atrocities are committed in those two countries. So I think that's very important. So I think those double standards shouldn't be applied. So I think that's what Imran Khan has raised, and that is not very well received. So what the global leadership wants is simply subservient governments which serve the interest of other nations rather than serving or protecting the interest of their own people. That is the bottom line. And I think this time round, they're dealing with somebody in Pakistan who is putting their own people's interest first. And we hope that Allah protects him because he's being under a huge amount of threat because he's taken the speech in UN, the issue of Islamophobia he's raised across the globe, the voices becoming from the Muslim across the world, the voices becoming from the oppressed of the world, the voices becoming for people of Pakistan, the voices becoming to give equal treatment to all human beings regardless of race, color, or the background they come from in genuine sense. That is not very well received. And so I think that's why it's effectively, to me and to a lot of people like myself, he's actually threatening the global system in place, which is there to oppress the most oppressed in the world. So I think this whole system is under threat. Yes, he's fighting for Pakistan, but at the same time, if he succeeds in Pakistan, that can trigger a lot of other events across the globe, which may bring down the hegemony of the system, the global system, which is depriving people from their basic rights, which is depriving people from food, which is depriving people from opportunity to excel, which is driving people from doing better in their lives. So I think that's why he's being contained, and I hope that the people, those who are against him, they won't take a route where they will try to eliminate him through means they have actually used in the past. They're trying to assassinate people, those who stand in their way. So I think may Allah protect him. It's our iman, it's our yaqeen. It's that nobody in this world can bring somebody's life to an end until Allah wants it to be. So I think, but we pray to Allah that Allah protects him. People of Pakistan will support him, and in the next coming days, you will see there'll be a huge difference between the days we are living now. Like I said yesterday, the Supreme Court ruling brought down the government, which was enacted after ousting PTI's government, which is deemed illegal now. And Punjab province, where the government has been brought down, is the biggest province It's the center of the country. That's where the majority of the political activity takes place, where majority of the economic activity takes place. So I believe after yesterday's event, it's very, very hard for the federal government to actually sustain for very long. And we are hoping that elections will be called soon, and we can have a very peaceful transition, and we'll see, inshallah, Imran Khan to be the Prime Minister again of Pakistan.
Well, inshallah, we certainly will see. You know, you've raised so many issues, Shahbaz. In fact, I think we can spend a better part of an hour actually just analyzing and dissecting what you have just said. But I know you are rushed, and I don't want to hold you back. You have got a family emergency. So we thank you. We say Jazakallah to you for your time. But hopefully, at some point in time, I think, you know, we normally host a panel discussion that can last for right up to 2 hours. And hopefully, at some point in time, we are hoping, and I'm hoping, that we can arrange a panel discussion with yourself and with a few others actually, and just to look at this, because it's not going to go away in a hurry, and we will definitely be keeping a close watch on developments in Pakistan, and as and when they arise, we definitely will address them, and we will provide the type of coverage that is necessary to give it the coverage. But for now, as I said, we wish you well, inshallah. We hope all goes well with your son. We make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him shifa, Allah make it easy for him, for you, for your family as well. We thank you once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah. Wa alaikum assalam.
Shahbaz Khan, former PTI London president, with us this evening, and unfortunately, we could not complete the 30 minutes that was set aside for the interview. But we definitely will try and get him back. And the developments in Pakistan are still extremely hot at this point in time. Imran Khan is relentless at this point in time in his campaign. We've seen the turnouts at the Jalsas, millions of people. And once again, this is not going to stop, and right until the elections. And we never even got down to talking about his thoughts on the people in power right now, the likes of Shahbaz Sharif, and also the Bilawal Bhutto as well, Zardari. So there's still a lot more that we need to obviously dissect, a lot more that we need to unpack as far as Pakistan is concerned. But I think the key issue here, and as Shahbaz Khan had mentioned, is challenging a global system. And this is exactly what Imran Khan tried to do, is challenge this global system where there is just so much oppression that is taking place in more ways than one. Economic oppression, we see physical oppression. He spoke about the likes of Kashmir and Palestine, where we're talking about occupational oppression that is taking place in that part of the world, and in many other countries where we see this type of oppression. And Imran Khan, was he expected to support the US and the Europeans as far as Ukraine is concerned? Yes, they wanted him to support, but having had that meeting on that very same day when everything basically, when all hell broke loose, and this possibly could be one of the reasons. But we know the famous speech that Imran Khan had given at the United Nations, that didn't go down well. In fact, some, particularly India, did not like what he had to say with regard to Kashmir. He spoke about he spoke about the Medina government, and that is what Imran Khan tried to do. And the same, we would say, go for leaders like Mohammed Mursi, who wanted to rule by Islam and together with Islam according to the Sharia. And these are the leaders that the West don't like to see. And we're just looking at the tweet that's come out from Imran Khan, where he says, "I want to thank the Lahore Bar Association for their extremely passionate welcome today. I was especially pleased to hear from them that they are all committed to join our Hakiki Azadi March against US regime change, conspiracy, and imported government." And this is exactly what we are talking about. But also at the same time, later on in the program, we will be joined by Professor Nidal Sakar and Mazhar Khan out of the United Kingdom. And we are talking about leadership. We're talking about a leadership crisis. We're talking about an evolving leadership. How much different is the leadership in the Middle East now to what the leadership has been in the past? And we see the developments that take place. We see the the close relationship with the likes of the UAE and Israel, and we've seen a praise even with the demise of the leader there in Dubai. We've seen comments come through from the Israeli Prime Minister praising the UAE for their efforts in normalizing with Israel. So we've got this evolving leadership. But what is this evolving leadership in the Middle East doing? Are they doing it for the betterment of Muslims? Are they doing it to the detriment of Islam and Muslims? These are the questions that we are going to raise, and we're going to try and understand exactly how this has evolved, what has caused this, and more importantly, I think looking at leadership, we certainly have got a leadership vacuum in the Muslim world, and we've seen it over and over again. We see it in country after country, well over 50 Muslim countries belonging to the OIC. When we look at issues taking place around the world, we see their position, we see their stance, we see what they are actually, what they say. Like it's just a don't care attitude. So it's clear that we've got a leadership problem in the Muslim world, and that is one issue that we definitely will be talking very, very extensively about, and we will definitely unpack some of the issues later on in the program, and that's going to happen at around 8 p.m. So, but right now we're going to go for a break, and we'll be back at 8 p.m. Between 8 and 9. We will be joined by Imran Khan and Professor Nidal Sakar.